I'm John Richmond from Richmond Vona, and if you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer and served in the United States Navy, you need to hire a law firm that has experience litigating these types of cases. Here at Richmond Vona, both myself and my partner Keith, who is a former Marine, have over 25 years of combined experience litigating asbestos cases and have represented numerous sailors who were exposed in the United States Navy. Regardless of the type of ship that you served on, whether it was a destroyer, an aircraft carrier, an oiler, or a submarine, asbestos was used heavily on these ships, especially in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, below deck in the engine and fire spaces. Especially during the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, there was a lot of asbestos used on Navy ships, especially below deck. And the reason for this was primarily twofold. One, to ensure there were no fires aboard the ship, and two, to promote the efficiency of the heating equipment used below. A lot of the asbestos we see used below deck included asbestos gaskets and packing on pumps, on valves, on steam traps, asbestos insulation on the piping running throughout the fire and engine spaces, and asbestos used on and in the boilers and the turbines that you would see in these fire and engine spaces as well. Whether you were a machinist mate, a fireman, or merely stood below deck as on fire watch in one of these spaces, odds are you were exposed to asbestos. Now, though you cannot sue the United States Navy, you can be entitled to compensation from going after the manufacturers and suppliers of the products that contained asbestos that were used in these fire and engine spaces. So for instance, if you were a machinist mate below deck on, let's say, a destroyer, odds are one of your main duties, whether the ship was at sea or in dry dock, was to work on the pumps, the valves, the traps, either as part of a routine maintenance schedule or even in the case where something broke down. So your asbestos exposure may include removing old gaskets from the flanges of pumps and valves and traps, and that would involve the use of a wire brush, which would create dust that you may have breathed in. In addition, you may have been charged with the duty of removing packing from old pumps and valves and using an old packing hook to remove this asbestos-containing material, which again would have created dust that you could have breathed in. Or let's say you were a fireman working below deck. It was your job to maintain those boilers, to work in and outside those boilers. And odds are you may have been exposed to asbestos from exterior insulation on those boilers and from asbestos-containing products within those boilers, like fire brick and other types of insulating products. And as I mentioned earlier, even if it was merely your job to help stand fire watch and ensure there were no fires aboard that ship, you may have been exposed from merely being in the presence of these asbestos-containing products or being in the presence of others who worked with them in your vicinity. Whether you're exposed to asbestos while the ship was at sea, or perhaps while the ship was in dry dock, or even from being exposed to the yardbirds who worked with asbestos products in your presence while the ship was docked, you may be entitled to compensation. You need an experienced asbestos litigation law firm like ours that understands how to put the pieces of the puzzle together and help assert claims against the manufacturers of these asbestos-containing products and equipment. An experienced asbestos litigation law firm like ours can help you put the pieces of the puzzle together and get the compensation that you and your family deserve. We do that by leaving no stone unturned. We go through cruise books, we talk to your shipmates, we get the equipment list for your ships, and most importantly, we talk to you. We put all this information together, and no two cases are alike, but at the end of the day, we come up with the best plan for you so that we, again, get you the compensation that you and your family really deserve. If you or a loved one's been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer after serving in the United States Navy, please give us a call. Both myself and Keith will come meet with you and your family in person, explain our approach to Navy cases, and hopefully work with you to get you the compensation that you deserve.